and welcome to today's video. So in today's video I'm going to be talking about things I wish I knew before I started uni, and this might not be as applicable to people as I moved into uni during a pandemic, and I'm still at the moment unsure on how university is going to have changed for people joining in this September, but I just thought I'd give you my hints and tips and just what I wish I knew to help people settle in September. So the first one is everyone wants to make friends. What I found is everyone is really friendly. Speak to everyone, do everything and just throw yourself in there. It's really scary, and I was probably living off pure adrenaline for like the first month, which was when I did like the weirdest stuff for me. Like I would never be a person to kind of just throw myself into an activity, but that's what happened. I ended up doing things on my own that I would never do. It was really like out of character for me. So I think definitely make the most, if you kind of get really anxious like I did and you kind of, that turns into adrenaline, just kind of throw yourself into everything, because that's when you're gonna grow and that's when you're gonna learn and kind of develop. Definitely throw yourself into stuff. Obviously if you're really anxious and you can't do that, then don't, but obviously I think if you can, try and get on top of those situations, and I think that's a really good way of beating the nerves that absolutely everyone has. Everyone has the nerves and the anxiety around joining. Me and my flatmates, we had a chat at the end of term or at the end of the year, and we were saying how nervous we all were when we started, and we were like telling each other what it was like when we joined and how we felt about everything, and also our first impressions of the people, which we just laughed at because obviously things change a lot. People change throughout the year, but we had a little joke about things. We all felt exactly the same. We were all saying how nervous we were, how we didn't want to leave the room, how we were all really upset. Most of us said we cried. It's something that everyone goes through, so don't feel like you're on your own, because you're really not. Another thing I'd like to say is the workload will hit you like a ton of bricks. The most important part is you will learn to deal with it. At the start it's very overwhelming. You've moved to a new area with maybe up to 10 random people and you're all trying to learn to like live together, and as well you've got welcome week or freshers activities, you're trying to join societies, and the workload started and it gets very intense very quickly. I think it's very important to understand that people will say, oh, it gets easier, and you're not going to believe them. I remember, I think it was in week 3, I literally said, I was like, people say that the workload gets harder. I was like, I don't know how it can possibly get any harder because this is unmanageable. And no, spoiler alert, I did manage it and it did calm down. Actually, near the end of term, I found myself getting bored. Half my lectures finished at different times. I ended up having, I think I had 8 contact hours. My 8 hours became 2 or 3 hours, and obviously that means I had more spare time. And when the only thing you can do is sit in your bedroom or go to the kitchen, yeah, you kind of get bored quite easily. Another thing I want to bring up is, looking back, you will probably feel quite maybe embarrassed, maybe ashamed of some things you did, but I beg you, people will forget it. There's some things I've done that, okay, people probably won't forget because it was really embarrassing for me, but it was very funny for everyone else. And looking back, you just have to learn to laugh at it. Like looking back now, I still am a bit embarrassed about it, but no, I'm learning to overcome it and kind of just laugh with them. I mean, it happened and it was a crazy story that obviously only a few people will know, but it was definitely an experience, and looking back I just laugh, and you just have to learn to kind of laugh at yourself. And I think make sure you kind of take the highs with the lows and definitely just try and enjoy it as long as you can. Some people obviously really hate it and then they move home, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. I know people that have moved accommodations because they didn't get on with their flatmates, or their flatmates weren't the kind of people they wanted to be with, and now they're really enjoying it. So I think if you are struggling or do want to leave, then there's nothing wrong with that. I just think give it a go, a genuine go. But obviously if you know from the very start that this really isn't for you, then there's no shame in leaving early or anything like that, because I've been in a situation where I knew from the very start I really wasn't going to like it, and I would never have told myself to force myself to stick through that just so I can say, oh, I gave it a decent go. Like if you're really not feeling it, like you know yourself, then really don't feel ashamed to like drop out or even move accommodation or whatever it is. People change a lot, and some people sadly still have the high school mentality. It's quite bitchy, And luckily I didn't actually see many people that were like that, but I have heard of people that are still like that. For me, I think it was kind of like a bit of a stereotype. There are a couple girls that I thought were going to be really bitchy, and that was kind of, I mean, I shouldn't have really judged them like that, because I actually got to know them and they're the most loveliest girls I think I've ever met. Like, they're so sweet, and it was wrong of me to kind of judge them in the first place. But I think that was just based on my past experiences of how people like them have acted in high school, and I kind of associated that kind of attitude with them, and turns out I was completely wrong. But there still are people that do have that attitude. I know a lot of people leave school and that's all they want to get away from, and I'm telling you that it is possible. There are so many people at university that if you really, like, you could actually avoid them like the whole time you're there. Like, it's actually mad. But yeah, so if you do get stuck in that crowd, like, don't be ashamed to just kind of leave, because there are definitely plenty of other people. When I went to university open days, or I had to ask a question, the one question I wanted to know was how it compared to A-levels. So I did A-level psychology, I do a psychology degree. I wanted to know how's it like compared to A-level psychology? Like, is it easier? What's it all about? And I got this same answer, and I'm really sorry, but I'm literally going to repeat it. And the answer is it's impossible to compare. You do not understand until you've done it that it is so hard to compare a university degree to an A-level. Just the way you learn, the work you're expected to do is so different. But the only thing I'm going to say is for my first year and my world degree is that some parts overlapped. So some parts I did in A-level very slightly were part of my degree, but obviously it was a very small part, and then we kind of developed and went on to different things. So other than that, I'm really sorry, but yeah, it's really hard to compare them, and I know that's not what you're going to want to hear, because I wanted to hear a lot more. Like, when I asked that question, I wanted to know how the workload was, how many contact hours I was getting compared to, how many topics there were, and kind of stuff like that. Do I need to know case studies? No, you don't. So if you're watching this, you don't need to know case studies. Degrees don't really work like that. So it is kind of a different world, and I know that is a question that I definitely wanted to have answered. So sadly, I'm not really going to help you with that, because it is hard to compare. But if you do want to know anything else about the psychology versus A-level kind of thing, then you can just DM me on Instagram and I'll kind of tell you a bit more. But yeah, sadly, it's a kind of really different world where it is just really hard to kind of compare in a way that an A-level person would understand. The degree is so much less about the academic marks and academic kind of rigour and stuff, and it's more about like the lifestyle, like what you do. Basically, a degree is worth so much more the more extra stuff you do. I'd probably say that a 2-1 with work experience and kind of extracurricular activity is probably better than a first. I mean, obviously it depends, but with a 2-1 you can still apply to most masters and stuff like that. But I'd definitely say university is about the experience, whereas with A-levels it's all just about A-level content. What I wish I knew is budget. That's all I'm going to say. Student finance, I'm going to do a video on this because I actually budgeted really well my whole time. Well, actually I got my dad to do a spreadsheet where I calculated my weekly thing, but like the maths went completely wrong. Quite ironic when I had to do a stats course, but yeah, I've not got the maths of it done, but like I have got a template that I will probably allow people to have that really help me financially. My parents earn a decent amount, so I got the lowest student finance maintenance loan. I budgeted that, and I budgeted for food, nights out and other stuff like that, so I'll be showing that in a video. But definitely budget. I know people that ran out of money in the first 2 weeks. It's all about kind of moderation, and then you can afford to have those nights out where you spend a lot of money. A good thing about Manchester is you don't need to buy any textbooks. They have them available in the library, or what my course do, they use core text, which I don't know if other degree programs do, but essentially it's all your books online, so you don't need to buy any. Try and get adjusted to the way of marking. So you're going to get a big smack if you've gone from getting like 80% and you're going to start getting like 50, 60, and it's a real big reality shift that took me a really long time, and it really smashed me about when I got my first grade that wasn't as kind of high as I was used to at A-level, because my degree we did a lot of multiple choice questions to start with, so it was very easy to get 100%. So when I went from getting like 100%, 90% to I think it was 58, my first like really big kind of assignment, that really punched me in the face basically, like that really hit me. and I think it's really important to kind of get used to feeling disappointed in what you get. If you set your baseline really low, then anything else is going to seem really good, because the way of marking is extremely hit and miss. When you get your first mark, even if it's a 50, like that's still a 40 to pass at the end of the day, and I know it's not drilled into people's heads like that. Some people live with that mentality of, oh, I've passed, that's fine, but a lot of other people go to university, they want to do well. Just get used to being disappointed in what you get and just try and keep picking yourself up, so after every mark you get, it should get easier to deal with the ones that you aren't as happy with. Another thing I'd say is there's probably never too much work you can have done. Obviously you can work to the point of burning yourself out, but you definitely need a lot more than you think. A lot more paper if you want to do it that way. Some people would recommend typing up notes. I kind of didn't really do that, but I still did quite a bit of my work on my computer, so I also have like 6 folders that are really full. Actually, another good tip is don't buy, this actually probably won't be very helpful, but if you go to a freshers fair, or like I had university open days, take the free pens. I literally, my first whole semester, I just worked through every single free pen that I'd given myself, and then I didn't need to buy any. So I think that's a really good way to do it. So grab the freebies, like make the most of them. If someone offers you free pizza, take it, because then you get the luxury of spending your money on something else that obviously you still need to spend it on food, but like, say you want to go on a night out, then you've saved a bit because you used the free food when you got it. But yeah, free food. What else will I wish I knew? Get a club card or a Next card. So unfortunately for me, Sainsbury's is basically the closest supermarket. So get a Sainsbury's card, and then you can kind of get the points, and to be fair, it's quite addicting. I do quite like going and getting more points. Obviously, you don't have to, but you can buy cheaply. Like if you plan your meals, you can really do it really well. Someone in my flat budgeted amazingly well food-wise and went to Aldi, and was it Aldi? No, it went to Lidl. And he went to Lidl and got his food for about 20-30 quid every single week, and he ate really well, like really healthy, really varied. Well, varied, he ate the same thing. Fish, rice and broccoli, Christian. But no, he did really well, so I definitely recommend budgeting and planning what you have, so you make the most of your money, and you can shop cheaply in somewhere that's probably viewed as being quite an expensive supermarket, such as Sainsbury's. Another thing I'd say is get involved in what you can do. I joined a couple of societies, didn't do anything with them because they didn't actually do anything really, but now I'm actually on the committee for the Psychology Society next year, so this year I'm kind of picking up volunteering things and doing a lot more extracurricular activities, and to be honest, I'm waiting for the smack in the face. I'm waiting for the time when all the workload of second year hits me and I'm out of my depths and I don't have a clue what I'm doing. I'm moving to a house with people I've never properly met before. Like, I'll talk about my housing situation in a different video, but yeah, I'm ready for second year to basically kick me in the face. Take each year as a fresh start. Obviously make the most. Ask people you know who are at university. That's probably a very good way. Obviously every university is different. Try and get as much experience as you can, because it's a really big jump and it's a really big thing for everyone. Like, even just moving to university is huge, so I just think try and give yourself a bit of a pat on the back with everything that you do manage. One thing that I really would like people to take away from this video is that everyone is in a different part of their life when they come to university, but there's still a lot in common. Another thing I want to point out is sometimes first impressions are actually a really good thing. So I had first impressions, I didn't get the nicest feeling about these couple of people, and in the end basically their true colours kind of came out, and I was completely right. Really trust your gut. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you found it useful, and also comment down below any other tips or things that you wish you knew before you started university. And if you did like this video, then please give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and I will see you for the next video. Bye!